Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today DICE has given us a boatload of info about their Portal game mode for Battlefield 2042. And really, calling Portal a game mode is a little bit of a disservice. It's a custom game mode editor that allows players and developers to create new, unique Battlefield experiences that change up the fundamentals of Battlefield in major or minor ways. These custom game modes can then be shared and played by anyone around the world, and I think that Portal has the potential to be one of the more prominent game modes in Battlefield 2042 once its true power is explored by the player base. Today, we got another trailer showing off Portal gameplay and a blog post going deeper into the customization of the system. And the trailer's pretty cool with some of my highlights, including a clip where B-17s are bombing modern tanks in the desert and futuristic VTOLs are flying over the Battle of the Bulge. Again, the trailer doesn't show much beyond the mixing of vehicles, maps, classes, and weapons from the different eras of Battlefield. However, the blog post goes into considerably more detail regarding what you can do with the editor. It's a fairly long blog post that goes over all the basic options and then briefly discusses the much deeper options. And overall, I gotta say the system seems to be set up in a very good way. You can edit and design modes from a web browser, and in fact you can even do it without owning the game. The first layer of the Portal editor is pretty extensive, allowing you to change many options to set up the simpler custom game modes. This means changing stuff like weapon restrictions, class choices, map rotations, player count, vehicle spawn options, heads-up display options, and frankly a lot more than that. I mean, there's probably over 1,000 basic options that you can mess with. Now beyond that, there is a much briefer section that goes over the scripting side of the editor that honestly looks infinitely more complicated but also way more powerful. Sadly, this section is not as detailed, so again the limits and freedoms of this more advanced system are still an unknown. But why don't we talk about what we do know? The web-based editor will also be available in-game with options to create and join servers directly. The web tool works on all platforms and only requires an EA account to access it. Your configs can also be shared via a code that's just a copy and paste text string. Several pre-made game mode options will be published by DICE when the game launches. These presets and featured modes will also rotate over time with new modes and configs, and you can also use these presets as templates for deeper customization. So you can essentially take anything that's already been designed and build upon it or modify it to your liking. Now, the available Portal modes that you can modify at launch include Conquest Large, Conquest, Rush, Free-for-All, and Team Deathmatch. These modes serve as a springboard for deeper customization with the rules editor. Don't think of them as strict limitations necessarily. Map rotations also let you pick from all the available maps, and you can also decide which play area sizes is used for the maps. For example, TDM has a smaller play area than Conquest on the same map, but if you want, you can make a 128-player No-Char Canals TDM server if you're absolutely crazy. I can only imagine 128 players crammed into one of the smallest maps in the game. There's 13 medium-sized layouts and 13 small-sized layouts among the different maps. The 7 large layouts for Battlefield 2042's base maps are only available for PC and next-gen console users. Now again, there are 2 layers of customization, standard toggle options, and then the logic editor. And while the standard mode could sound somewhat basic, I mean, the options there are pretty much anything you would want to tweak to modify existing game modes. These options include stuff like player count if teams are asymmetrical, if bots are enabled, round timer, tickets per kill, squad size limit, squad spawning, and honestly, so much more. Gameplay toggle options include friendly fire, extreme weather events, stationary weapon emplacement, classic soldier weapon tuning, aim assist, zoom snap. The gameplay options also include fine adjustment for projectile speed, global damage, headshot and body damage, and what drops when players are killed. These options alone are incredibly powerful. Also, the aim assist toggle options are pretty cool. I know a lot of console players have been debating over whether or not you should have aim assist in your game. Well, now you can just make a server with it on or off. The soldier customization options also offer a variety of toggles and secondary controls. The on and off toggles are as follow: prone, strafing while sprinting, sprint, aiming down sights, health regeneration, traversal speed, slide, and squad revive. A lot of these will let you recreate the old school movement mechanics, so if you wanted to play a bad company Company 2 Recreation server, well then you would turn off strafing while sprinting. It feels pretty weird going back to Bad Company 2 these days, or you could just enable all the modern movement mechanics and play the Bad Company 2 maps with the same Bad Company 2 weapon restrictions for an old school but updated feeling. A very cool amount of control here. And the secondary controls let you tweak stuff like fall damage, movement speed, max health and regen speed, redeploy delay, and man down state. Now vehicle options also include some standard toggles like auto health regen, whether or not you can exit a vehicle once you enter it, which is interesting, damage multipliers, spawn delay, and more. On top of those options, you can also disable vehicles, select between on-foot call-ins, deploy screen spawns, or both. You can also enable or disable vehicles that spawn on the map independent of your vehicle player spawn-ins. Also, they made a special point of mentioning it in the blog post that you can call in World War II vehicles with the on-foot spawn-in option, which is pretty cool. The UI options offer toggles for things like the compass, minimap, overall heads-up display, plus menu system, and friendly player markers. You can also tweak the ping system and enable 3D spotting if you want. When it comes to bots, they can be used as filler for human players or as PvE only enemies. So if you want to create something like a co-op experience from Insurgency Sandstorm with a team of human players versus bot teams or waves of bots, it sounds possible. You can also create a server where the bot players are replaced by human players when a real player joins. There's a ton of tweaks that you can make to the AI that are separate from the player tweaks. They have difficulty modes, toggles for downstate, prone, sprint, vehicle exit, health regen, plus fine adjustments for redeploy delay, max health, and damage multipliers. Something interesting that comes to mind while thinking about the AI options is creating training modes. Say you want to practice with a certain weapon or get good with your reaction times or something like that. I think there could be some cool bot modes that really allow you to hone in your skills while playing against just bots and not having to join into a server. Now, the next layer of adjustments are the content restrictions. This is where you pick which eras of content are available, what specialists players can use, weapons, attachments, vehicles, gadgets, etc. These options basically let you restrict eras of equipment, decide if you want like old school versus new school, have it all mixed together, whatever you want to do. And once you've gone through this last set of options, you're basically done editing your server and you can set it live. Now, the basic editor still sounds incredibly powerful. Like, I think 90% of what most people are thinking about doing could be done in this basic editor, but where the real insanity of Portal potentially lies is the rule editor. This gives you complete control over the logic of a mode. All of the options that I just mentioned are exposed as basically a customizable option tree that lets you go in and tweak really specific elements. Do you want to change how many MCOMs a team might need to destroy in Rush to win the map or progress to the next stage? You can do that with the logic editor. You can also do stuff like give players more health when they get a kill. You can change what guns are available based on how many kills players have, and much more. And while you're not explicitly able to create, say, a battle royale mode with the logic editor, it wouldn't shock me if clever players figured out a set of rule editor options that give you a comparable experience. And sadly, DICE's descriptions of the rule editor so far probably only scratched the surface of what it offers. We're really going to need hands-on time to figure out its true power. I have a feeling that DICE don't even really fully know what it's capable of, and it'll be very interesting to see what the community does. And finally, once you have everything set up, you can make the server public so players can join it. Now, these servers are dynamic, which means they're spawned on demand, and if your server empties out, it will be removed after a certain time limit. You can reinstate a new server with the same rules though, and other people you give access to your rule set can also restart the same server. One thing that does persist across all of your personal servers is the ban list. Once you ban a player, any server you create from then on will prevent that player from joining. That's a huge improvement over the limited ban systems in Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5. You can also kick players, unban them, restart the map, go to the next map, and take the server offline. There's also a reporting system to report problematic players or problematic server admins as well. Now, despite the fact that there's literally hundreds of options detailed in the blog post, there's currently no mention of the ability to create private servers or select which region your server is instanced in. These are two key options that seem somewhat vital to competitive players trying to host tournaments or private matches with friends. Hopefully DICE shares some info about these features before launch, but I would imagine that a password system probably will be available. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, ultimately, this truly is a mountain of information, but with a lot of the treasure still buried inside that editor. We now have a great idea of the basics of what you can do with the system, and they actually sound very powerful and like a lot of fun. I would imagine just slightly messing with modes and mixing and matching eras is actually going to provide a ton of replayability and a ton of fun. World War II Army versus modern military already sounds like a total blast, but the true power of this system is still a bit of a mystery. I do wish DICE had included a few more examples of what is possible. The weird game mode that they showcased a while back was the EOD bots versus the main battle tank. A cool concept, but I think if DICE really wanted to hype the player base, an example list of say 3 modes that show off some of the wackier things that you can do with the logic editor would at least give us a place to start imagining the possibilities. We can tell from the editor screenshots alone that there's a ton of options upon options upon options with complex subroutines and actual calculations, but what does that mean in the end result? Can we do Unreal Tournament style low gravity instagib, or is it more of a tool to allow us to refine things further or add on simple modifiers to systems that already exist? Regardless, I do have to say I'm very excited to see what the community comes up with and how Portal shifts what players do for fun in Battlefield. Has this blog post inspired you? Let me know in the comments if you already have some ideas about what you might want to create using the Portal editor. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.